Hello, 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 and welcome back to an all-new episode here on the Desensitized channel. My name is Darius Cook, as always. Now, I'm typically joined by my good buddy Dan Cass. We team up for a longer-form video on this channel, but today I'm the only lovely face that you're going to see. I'm going to be coming in for a solo video to talk about Disney Plus's all-new live-action series for Star Wars. That's right, we're talking about the Acolyte, episodes 1 and 2. I have a lot of thoughts. Let's get right into it. So what is the Acolyte? The base premise essentially is it's a prequel series kind of set before any of the events that we see. I believe that overall what this show is going to do is give the backstory of how the Sith ever came to be in the first place. But it's a mystery series that surrounds these murders of Jedi that are going on. And the mystery is trying to figure out exactly who's behind the murders and the circumstances of what's motivating them and sending them, while following our main character, who is a reformed Jedi. So they were Jedi, but they don't want to be a Jedi anymore. She is essentially framed for these murders at first. Come to find out that it's her twin sister, and craziness ensues. I don't want to get too deep into the spoilers right off the beginning, but as a mystery, I think that this series is doing pretty good. It definitely sets its tone aside from other properties that this series has tackled before. And so it feels uniquely in its own box of being like a mystery kind of thriller series. I think the acting so far has actually been great. And some of the characters that have been introduced in the series, I'm already really endeared towards. So there is a lot to love. It's not without its critiques, however. But if you are a Star Wars fan and you're looking for more to love, and maybe you've been burned in the past with some of those Star Wars series, but you want to give this one a chance, I do recommend it. At least on these first few episodes, you're going to have a lot of fun, and there's a lot to bite into as a Star Wars fan that it's worth your time at the very least. Coming into the series, the live action Star Wars series that we've had in the last few years has been a mixed bag for sure, right? So we've had Obi-Wan, which was a mixed bag at best. There were some good moments in it, but overall was a bad show in my opinion. And we had Book of Boba Fett, which in my opinion wasn't a good show at all. Maybe a couple redeeming moments, particularly the ones that followed The Mandalorian and was a completely different series altogether. But a lot of disappointment there. And then we had Andor, which was awesome. And of course we have Mandalorian as well, which is another great Star Wars series. So coming into this, there's a lot of, they can go great or they can go bad. This is going to be kind of the tiebreaker series. And so far for the first 2 episodes, I feel like The Acolyte has potential. Maybe not to be the best live-action Star Wars show, but definitely in the top 3. Probably sitting right behind Mandalorian. Andor number 1, Mandalorian number 2. And from what we have so far with The Acolyte, I'm putting it neatly at number 3. Now, I don't want to speak too soon, and we will go into detail of everything on The Acolyte in those first 2 episodes. But I just want to talk about where I feel like this kind of stacks up. I felt very strongly about Obi-Wan in its first 2 episodes. I thought that it was going to be a great series. But as it went on, it continued to kind of disappoint more and more. So I'm not saying that Acolyte necessarily is going to be one of the greater Star Wars shows, but if it stays at the level that it currently is and hopefully gets even better, I think that it's going to be a pretty great show. Right off the bat, I want to give flowers to our main actress, Amanda Lestenberg. So she has a lot to do in this series. She, like in Parent Trap, is playing 2 different roles. She's playing the same actress portraying 2 different twin sisters, essentially. So our main character, the good one, let's say, her name is Osha, and that's the character that we get to know the most about the series. What we know about her is kind of sparse. We just are aware that she's a former Jedi. We haven't, like I said, this is a mystery series, so I do think that they're going to be slowly revealing more information about the past as each episode goes on. But at this point, we just know that she spent time training as a Jedi and chose to leave it on good terms, essentially. She wasn't with the Jedi Order anymore, and now she's just kind of doing her own thing. The other character that she's playing is May, and that's her twin sister who was presumed dead from a long time ago. We don't know much about what May's been up to, but she is the referred to Acolyte in the series, and she is the one that is committing these murders on the Jedi. So you're essentially following 2 sides of the same coin here. A classic thing that Star Wars likes to do is show duality and mirror characters that represent the opposite of each other. So that is definitely what's happening here. And I gotta say, the actress has done a great job portraying very different personalities, even though physically they do look exactly the same haircut and dimensions and everything like that. I do feel like the characters feel distinct in their own right, to the point, because I'm not familiar with this actress, it was to the point where I would have believed that you had hired twins to play this role, because they still feel like there's a distinct feel to each of them and how they are portraying their character. So May, the evil character that is committing the murders, is working for a mysterious figure. Now, we don't know exactly who she's working for. It's actually implied in episode 2 that she isn't even aware of who she's working for. I suppose that's to protect their identity from any Jedi mind tricks that want to read her mind. I do have an idea of some characters that we've been introduced to so far that actually might be behind it, but we'll get into that towards the end of the video. But I think that it's implied that whoever she is working for is going to be kind of the mastermind that is starting the Sith Empire and has hired May to be their acolyte to kind of get the ball rolling on that. So again, she has a specific list of Jedis that she is on a mission to assassinate. By the end of episode 2, 2 of those Jedi are dead and 2 remain. It's also implied that all 4 of those Jedi that she does want to kill have a history with the twin sisters from their childhood. What extent that history goes is yet to be seen, but it's implied that they've done some heinous crimes or have faulted May in some way, where we even see one of the Jedi choosing to take their own life because they feel so bad about what they did in the past. All right, before I get too far into the weeds, I want to talk about some specific characters and then kind of talk about episode 1 and then get more into episode 2. But in episode 1, the episode opens we see May. We don't know anything about her at this point. I'm actually surprised that the show decided to open up from the point of view of May and not Osha, our good character. I think it was a good bait and switch to keep the mystery for the first episode as to who actually committed the murder. But we see her confronting Master Indara. Master Indara was such a cool Jedi to show on screen. The fight sequence, the way that she carried herself, just the way that she talked, I want to see so much more of this Jedi. I'm ready for the spinoff of this spinoff, the Indara series. But we see her confront her in a bar, very typical Star Wars fashion. And then we see a fight ensue. One thing that's worth noting about May is that even though she is on a mission to kill them, she's not here to assassinate them, or at least not necessarily. She tells Master Indara to attack her with everything that she has, which tells me from a screenwriting perspective that you're meant to believe that May does have some level of honor, because she isn't just going to attack her without being unprompted first. She wants the Jedi to engage in battle and knowingly fight. Even though she's not above doing some dirty tricks, as we'll see later on in the fight, there is some honor and balance to her character. Carrie Moss is the actress that plays Master Indara. And again, the physical performance that we see, the string work, whatever movie magic that they're doing to pull off this sequence, and the way that they utilize the Force in this battle sequence was refreshing and fun. We've seen a lot of Force user battles, and I think at times it can get repetitive. And I think in the movies, there's a lot of over-reliance on lightsaber battles, which are awesome. Don't get me wrong, I love me a great flashy lightsaber battle, but it comes at the consequence of more engaging and interesting applications of the Force, like we're seeing so far in the series, as most well exemplified in the fight with Master Indara. I just thought it was really fun, the different little ways that they use the Force. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but it feels like we've already gotten a few nuggets of Force usage that is more creative than a lot of the stuff we've gotten in the films in the past. I can already say that Master Indara opening fight with May is one of the more memorable ones for me. It wasn't flashy, it was very small scale overall, but I really appreciated the choreography and the action for that sequence. It does wrap up with, it pretty much is clear that Master Indara has the upper hand on May, and there's nothing that she can really do. At which point she chooses to throw a knife at one of the bar workers. And then in the moment where Indara tries to protect the bar worker is when May throws a knife through Indara and kills her. So like I said, May is not above doing some sneaky, grimy stuff. She is willing to get in the weeds to accomplish her goal. But As we'll see later on, she also has moments where she was going to go kill the barkeep afterwards, but then we saw a small child appear and she walked away. So she's willing to do some dirty tricks, but overall she still has some redeeming qualities. So she's a balanced character to some extent at this point. So that's really the inciting incident that kicks off this story. Because of their description, people immediately assume that it is Osha. Since May is presumed dead and Osha actually has training from the Jedi from her past, being a Jedi. And so she's immediately pulled into custody, and then we quickly find out by the end of the episode that her sister must still be alive for this all to be happening. That being said, for the first part of the first episode, they are playing with the audience. I was pretty positive that Osha was the one that killed her. I wasn't assuming that there might be a twin or a sister involved at this point. But just the way that they were playing with the dialogue and the way that we get Osha's character introduction after May, so we get the evil version and then we get the good version, you kind of assume from the audience perspective that we're following one kind of nefarious double life character, when in reality they were two separate introductions that kind of inform one another. It's at this point that we get introduced to the character Yord. And I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on Yord. He's kind of a polarizing character, at least as far as kind of my friends have all been discussing. He's kind of he's a rule follower, okay? He is a by the book kind of newer Jedi. He seems a little green. From some dialogue, it seems like he just got this promotion that he's been training and studying for a long time. He seems super proud to be in this position, but he kind of represents some of the gaudiness of the Jedi, especially that we get in the prequel series. Very reminiscent of the Jedi Order. Anytime that we get stories of the Jedi when they're getting too powerful and getting too much of an ego, essentially, and they get too much power, they end up becoming like corrupt cops. And I think that's kind of what Yord represents. He, ethically and morally speaking, presents as a very positive character. Like, he has the right intentions and everything, but I think that he is a little non-considerative towards emotions and wants to play it by the book so much that he will probably get in the way of our character's motivations a little bit later on. But overall, I think the actor is doing a good job with what he has. He is charming. He looks sick with his shirt off, and he provides a nice balance with the characters that we have so far. Because a lot of them are very like one note, I guess. There's not too much character depth going on with our main cast, but Yord kind of provides himself as like a foil while still working with the rest of the group. And I think he's almost a necessary dynamic for the group feeling like a group and not just feeling like three people that all have the same point of view. Another character that's in our group that I don't have too much to say about is Daphne King. The actress Daphne King is playing a character named Jeki. And if I'm not mistaken, she is the Padawan to Sol, who is our Jedi Master who has a previous relationship with Osha back when she was a Jedi. Jeki is super cool. She's super smart. I really like her place within the group. You know, she's like a sharpshooter, takes the piss out of Yord at times, and I think they provide a good yin and yang, whereas Sol is kind of like encompassing all the different factors. Yord is representing this side of the Jedi faction, and Jeki is representing this side. And overall, it provides some nice balance. That being said, she doesn't have too much to do in terms of her personal, emotional journey. She hasn't been given that much yet. That being said, I'm sure they're going to use her more because visually she is popping on screen. And just as far as dialogue goes and how she's been a part of a lot of scenes, I think that she will be an important character later. She's also given death flags early for me. I have a feeling that Jeki is going to die by the 4th or 5th episode. Last but not least, we got to talk about Sol. Sol is kind of the leader of our ragtag group right now. Because of his history with May and with Osha, he's the one that's selected to kind of investigate these Jedi murders that's going on. So he's the leader of Yord and Jeki, and then they pick up Osha as well. Sol is played by the actor from Squid Games, the main actor. Let me look up his name really quick. Jay. I don't know if I said that right or not, but he's the guy from Squid Game. I've only seen him on Squid Games and then now on here. What's interesting is, only having seen him, speak Korean in Squid Game, have a great performance, but that's the context I was introduced to him in. And now seeing him here, he's speaking English, but his accent isn't even that thick. He actually has a great, he speaks English very well. I love him. I think he is the standout of the series so far. I've had good things to say about all the actors, but Sol in particular, I think, is the backbone of the series. He is like a classic Jedi. He feels like Obi-Wan Kenobi, he is morally just and knows the right things to do and is the man with the plan. He shows a high level of power and his usage of the Force is much like what we saw with the original Jedi, but it has its own unique flair to him at the same time. It's quiet, it's drawn in, it's withheld, and he has this deliberate approach to all of his scenes that really communicates his power and intention, but at the same time his heart. He feels like such a sympathetic, empathizing character that he's very easy to emotionally project onto. And it's implied that he was a part of whatever those 4 Jedi did in the past that does have May so worked up that thinks that, they're deserving of death. So I'm scared that my heart's going to get broken soon with Sol and they're going to get a flashback that he did something kind of terrible. I hope not, because I love him so far. And the way that he mentors the different characters, he mentors Yord in a specific way, he mentors Jecki in a specific way, and he also has a unique and nuanced relationship with Osha as well. It's implied that they maybe had a very strong relationship. Whenever he took her into the Jedi Order, he was kind of her father figure. Those are the tones that I'm getting, but we have yet to see that explained. So that's just my thoughts so far on it. But overall, this actor is killing it. He's knocking this performance out of the park. He's one of my favorite Jedi I've ever seen. Especially if we're talking about Jedi Masters, he might be my favorite Jedi Master in 2 episodes alone. Another actor that popped up in episode 2 of this series is Manny Jacinto. He is playing, oh man, I'm going to get this wrong. He's playing Quimir, Q-I-M-I-R. I don't know how to say that name. This is an actor from The Good Place. I wanted to shout him out because I love The Good Place. That's an awesome show. It means a lot to me. He's playing a very different character here. In that show, he played a degenerate Florida man who loved to get into trouble and set off bombs. But in this show, he is playing, actually, I guess he's also playing a degenerate. But it's implied that he also works for the same boss that May works for. He's a shady kind of guy. He's like a weapons dealer, essentially. But, it's very clear that he is a villain in the sense that he is willing to do nefarious things. The context that we're introduced to him is just that he helps out May in episode 2. And then later on, the Jedi confront him and, he kind of reduces himself to being, just a dealer. So it's not like he's behind any of these plots, but he does know a lot. And this is going to get into my theory about who the Sith kind of overlord behind the scenes guy is going to be. I do think it's him. In episode 2, we see a scene where Osha tries to, she pretends that she's May to kind of get information from him. And he quickly susses it out. He looks her deep in the eye and says, "You look just like her." Now, it was revealed to us later on in that same episode that May was under the impression that Osha was dead. They both thought each other was dead. As far as this character is concerned, he should have no implication that May would have a twin sister. So it feels to me like this character has too much information available from what we've been introduced to him for. So I think that whoever the Sith person is, because their identity is being kept a secret, even from May, I think narratively the only reason to do that is for there to be a big reveal. I just don't think that you would keep an identity a secret if by the time we get to the last episode and we see this character, it's the first time we're being introduced to him. It's like, oh, this is Jeremy. He's the Sith guy. I just don't think that'd be very satisfying. So I think the reveal would either be someone that we know later on in Star Wars. And that would make for a satisfying, huge implication. Oh my gosh, this series has this moment that informs the movies later. Or it's just going to be a character that we've been introduced to already, and then it'll have a satisfying reveal later on. Of the characters we have available, there's some people within the Jedi Order that Sol is reporting to that maybe could be a part of it. That sounds like a pretty good theory now that I think about it, but I'm going to stick to the secret Sith person being May's friend, the degenerate guy, Jason Mendoza from The Good Place himself. I'm sticking to it. I think he knows a lot more than he's letting on. And even though he has her believing that they're just coworkers and they work for the same person, at the end of the day, he's going to be the guy. As we wrap up, just another detail I wanted to kind of dive into is we see from Osha's perspective, we see a childhood version of May kind of calling out to her in her subconscious. And, you know, to me, this invokes two things. The first thing it invokes is a Force dyad, is a new concept we've heard about in Star Wars in general. It's kind of these two characters that are like intrinsically connected through the Force. That's what Rey and Kylo Ren. They were a Force dyad, and we even see this explored a little bit in the Star Wars animated series, the anthology one, Star Wars Visions. So we see this exemplified in recent years, and it seems to be implied that that's what these two are. You know, they're twins. They both have access to the Force, so they can kind of communicate in this way. What's interesting is we see May calling out to Osha from her consciousness, from Osha's perspective. But we also see at the end of episode 2 that May just saw that Osha was alive for the first time. So that would kind of contradict this implication that May has been subconsciously calling out to Osha for her to join her, which is very much like what on screen is implying. But if you take that with the fact that at the end of episode 2, we see this shocked look on May's face as she sees that Osha's alive for the first time, that I don't think that could be her subconsciously reaching out to her. I think that that's probably the Sith person, the one who I just implied to be Jason Mendoza. I think he's playing with both of them and kind of pulling these characters where he wants them to be for his grand plan. It's that, or it's sloppy writing. I'm having enough faith in this series to think that hopefully they're not just contradicting themselves. I'm hoping that it'll lead to a bigger reveal. In the next episode, it seems like we're going to be checking up with a different Jedi. I forget their name right now, but it is a Wookiee. So it's been a while since we've seen any Wookiee do any like Jedi Force behavior. So I'm excited to see that get explored. Overall, I'm pretty enthralled in the series. I'm really invested in the mystery of finding out, what happened back in the past when everyone thought that May died and May thought Osha died and Osha ended up joining the Jedi. They haven't given us enough to really mark a guess, but they've made some strong implications about how the characters feel about that now that I am super excited to go back and see how that all plays out. I think Yord is a pretty interesting character. I'm interested to see where he lands by the end of the series because they've given him a lot of screen time so far, but he hasn't been a very important character so far. So I'm assuming that he will continue to grow in relevance towards the end of the season, and that, we'll really be playing with our two twin characters, May and Osha. I think Yord is going to be important in there. Soul is definitely going to be important. Again, he's doing the best job out of anyone here, and I'm more invested in his character's progression than anyone. If we have those 4 characters and then the Sith person, I think all these characters are going to have a lot to do and meet in the middle by the end of the series. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm praying that this doesn't go the way of Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett, and that we got a Mandalorian Andor situation on our hands here. So hopefully us Star Wars fans will keep eating. But for now, that's just another episode here on the Desensitized Podcast. Sorry you guys don't have Cass today, but I promise you his handsome face will be back soon. Thank you for listening. And if you want to check out, I've broken down Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan on my personal podcast feed. That is the Darius Show. You can find that on all streaming platforms. Unfortunately, it's not here on YouTube. You got to go to Spotify for that one, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. But yeah, I've got over 3 hours of me talking about Star Wars stuff. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. And we'll probably check back in at the end of the season unless, another episode drops and I've got some pressing stuff to talk about. But yeah, for now, that's it. Let me know what you think of my theories. I've got a couple ideas in the pot here. We'll see if it stands the test of time. But yeah, thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and have a good day, and I love you.